Hey everyone, Kyle Walker here. If you love cars, fixing things, or just want to understand your vehicle better, you're in the right place. I share hands-on tips, smart driving advice, and straight-up car talk without the fluff. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stick around till the end. You don't want to miss what's coming up. Let's get into it.
The army of fans of improving their car is numerous, and there are many fans of internal tuning, as well as supporters of changing the exterior of the car beyond recognition. Among the body elements that largely determine the external appearance of the car is the radiator grille, which is usually associated with the character of the car, good-natured or aggressive, sporty or extravagant. But few fans of tuning think that the radiator grille is not just a part of the overall design. It plays an important applied role, protecting the engine compartment and the radiator itself in the first place from various troubles. Protective grid on the radiator grille helps to cope with these tasks better. But few people know about these additional car accessories. We decided to fill this gap. Why install a protective grid? As you know, the radiator of the car is quite vulnerable to external threats, and the main barrier on the way of various debris, including biological, is the radiator grille. But the problem is that in most cases, the cells of this exterior element have rather large dimensions, designed to hold the appropriate size of objects such as branches or stones. As for small debris and insects, here the standard device is useless. That's why the question whether it is necessary to put a mesh from midges on the radiator grille is purely rhetorical. And if the harm from insects for radiator consists only in the complexity of its cleaning, everyone who at least once tried to do it knows what we are talking about, then small solid particles can cause serious damage to the cooling system of the car. It is enough to remember the saying about water and stone. However, the honeycomb clogged with gnats and other debris can significantly worsen the heat exchange between the radiator and the rushing air, which will affect the operation of the cooling system not for the better. So additional protection of the radiator from insects is necessary. And the only effective way to do this is to install a grid with fine mesh. Factory radiator grille that meets these requirements is very rare, so it is practiced to install a homemade or factory hinged element, which is not much easier to clean from debris. Advantages and disadvantages of a protective grid on the radiator. On modern cars are installed radiators, the size of which is quite large, so much so that their lower part goes far down. Radiator grille is usually installed between the headlights, covering only the upper part of the radiator, and even then only from large objects. The lower part, which is at the level of the bumper, is often poorly protected, and not only a mosquito, but also a considerable stone, which jumped out from under the wheels of the vehicle ahead, can get there through large gaps. Hence, microscopic defects that increase the natural loss of coolant. And if you add the honeycomb clogged with gnats flying to the light of headlights, you get a completely bleak picture, which is reflected in the overheating of the power unit. So the effect of the radiator grid on the cooling system from this point of view can be called very positive. It is worth noting other positive aspects. Unlike the standard plastic radiator grille, the grid is made of metal, which is not afraid of stone impacts. The wear of this element is much less than the grille. It is much easier to clean the mesh from debris with a kercher than the grille. The protective grid practically does not affect the size of the throughput capacity of the car. The air will flow to the radiator at the same speed. Many models of nets have a built-in shutter, which makes it easier to start and warm up a cold engine in winter. Finally, such an auto accessory can perform a decorative function, allowing you to fulfill the exterior of the vehicle to some extent exclusive. Negative moments are few. The most common is the difficulty in selecting a grid for a particular model of car. The second negative point is the difficulty of installation. Not all car owners own a locksmith tool perfectly, and if the grid is installed poorly, there may be backlashes, especially at high speed, which will be manifested by rattling and other unpleasant sounds. Varieties of safety nets. A great variety of mesh screens, designed for additional protection of the radiator, is due to the use of different technologies of manufacturing of these car accessories, as well as a wide range of modern materials used in their manufacture. It is not surprising that today there is an opportunity to pick up this decorative element, perfectly matching the color, shape, and size of your car. Let's take a closer look at all of the above factors. Method of manufacture and factory nets, and those that are made by large and very tiny tuning firms, use a number of different technologies. The welded method is characterized by a mesh pattern that has a clearly visible volume, even from a distance. Woven mesh is produced using a technology similar to textile production, but instead of threads, the object of weaving is a small diameter metal wire. The twisted method requires the use of special machines that make the grid in the form of bee honeycombs, with perfect hexagons, molded. Technology is used to produce nets from polymeric materials. The slitting and pulling method is a technology of cutting slits in sheet metal with the help of a powerful press. If necessary, the mesh can be stretched to form a rhombic pattern instead of a square one. Radiator technology provides for the interweaving of individual wires in a certain way. Read also how to choose the right windshield wiper blades. All of these methods, except for the last, allow you to get the output. Mesh with a rigid spatial structure, which is characterized by the constancy of geometry. Radiator is characterized by the presence of transversely arranged rows of wire, which can move within known limits, so their attachment requires a certain skill. As a rule, the decorative mesh as a result of separation, cutting, from the roll has sharp edges, which should be processed before installation, so as not to harm the body elements or bumper. Sometimes for this purpose, the edges are wrapped with a suitable diameter of insulation removed from the cable. Material of manufacture. There are three large groups of materials from which protective and decorative elements for the radiator grille are made. Polymers, the most worthy representatives of the class: polypropylene, polyethylene, capron. Steel, ordinary with chrome plating or stainless steel, non-ferrous metals, copper, various aluminum alloys, brass. If we consider the mesh from the point of view of ease of installation, then here preference should be given to polymer products. They can be easily cut with a metal hacksaw or scissors. The edge of the grille usually does not need any additional treatment. The material retains its original spatial shape under all conditions. Modern plastic products are absolutely resistant to ultraviolet rays, temperature spikes, and moisture. Among the main disadvantages can be called a relatively low strength, under the influence of a large stone, crashing at high speed. It is possible defects and damage to the mesh. Aluminum mesh for radiator protection is considered more universal, especially if it is made by the technology of cut-through. Among its advantages, the possibility of coloring and the use of chrome plating technology, ease of bending to give the desired shape. Aluminum is more resistant to mechanical influences and aggressive environments. If dents occur, they can be corrected without dismantling the protective screen. Brass and copper products are more expensive, but their decorative properties are much higher. Over time, these additional grilles acquire an ineffable antiquity. If desired, they can be easily cleaned with metal brushes and are not afraid of corrosion. When selecting the material of manufacture of the grid, make sure that the product is combined with the standard radiator grille and other nearby body elements. If you are not able to determine whether the grid is discordant with the exterior of the car, ask for help from specialists. Color solution. Most tuning ateliers give preference to chrome parts. It is not surprising that such nets are found most often. However, a product of universal black color will look no less attractive. Brass screens or copper screens will not fit under any color. Many car owners prefer to paint the overlay grille in the main color of the car body, but there are also fans of contrasting solutions. In short, the color of the decorative grid on the grille of the car can be any color, depending on your preferences and tastes. Technology of installation of the mesh screen. If your plans include the installation of a protective and decorative mesh on the grille, you should decide on its location. It can be external or internal location of the mesh screen, and each of the methods is characterized by its own set of advantages and disadvantages. In particular, the external mounting method allows for additional tuning of the car exterior. When the mesh screen is installed internally, it will be practically invisible behind the radiator grille, and in some cases it will be necessary to dismantle the bumper, which is a problem for many foreign car models. In order for the grid to perform protective functions, the mesh size should be within 2.5 to 5.0 millimeters. This is a reliable barrier to the path of small stones, debris, and insects. and at the same time the air will penetrate to the radiator plates almost without interference. Let's consider the main differences between the internal and external methods of mounting the mesh screen. Mounting on top of the radiator grille. If the car used to have only one monolithic grille, then in recent times it is often practiced to install protective elements consisting of two parts. One is located on the standard place, the other behind or under the bumper. Read also, criteria for choosing a car refrigerator. Most car brands practice the location in the middle of the grille of the company nameplate, which will have to be removed during the external installation. The very procedure of external installation of the radiator protection grid in the bumper consists of the following steps: determining the geometric dimensions of the mesh screen. The best and most accurate way is to use an overlay sheet of heavy paper or cardboard with the contour of the hole transferred by means of a pencil. According to the obtained template, a mesh of the required size and shape is cut out of the roll material using metal scissors. If the edges of the mold are too sharp, it is necessary to choose a cable whose inner diameter of insulation coincides with the outer diameter of the wire mesh. We cut the insulation with a stationary knife and put the obtained PVC tube on the edges of the grid all around its perimeter. The obtained construction is attached to the radiator grille in any convenient way. If parking cameras are planned to be installed in the area of the mesh screen, a hole of appropriate diameter should be cut in the places provided for this purpose. Mounting the mesh screen from the inside. In this case, the first 2 or 3 stages are completely identical, but there are some nuances. In particular, only in every 4th foreign car, the radiator grille is removed from the outside. In other cases, in order to install additional radiator protection, you will have to dismantle the bumper, which significantly complicates the procedure. If you have succeeded, take a close look at the bumper. Most likely, there are fasteners and other structural elements on the inside of the bumper to which our mesh can and should be attached. Methods of attachment. And now let's talk about the most reliable methods of fastening the protective structure, which in any case will be subjected to significant wind loads. There are several methods: how to fix the grid on the radiator grille with the help of self-tapping screws. In this case, it is necessary to use washers of large diameter, which increase the contact surface. The screws themselves. Before screwing in, it is desirable to slightly heat with a household hairdryer, fusion method. In this case, the metal wire frame around the perimeter is strongly heated and then quickly pressed into the standard plastic grid. Note that this option is very reliable, but there will be problems when dismantling the design by means of clamps, the simplest and undemanding to tools method. The clamps should be selected in the tone of the mesh itself and tightened only on the inner side with a glue gun. One of the fastest methods. It requires careful and even distribution of glue around the entire perimeter of the protective screen. If the standard holders are available, the screen is mounted under the radiator grille elements by snapping the holders into their seats. It is not often used. Most often self-tapping screws are used in practice. The second most popular is fastening with clamps. Sometimes transparent fishing line is used, but only if all other methods are unavailable. Is it possible to make a screen with your own hands? If you do not want to spend on the purchase of a factory product, and even more so, on the manufacture of a detail to order in a tuning atelier, you can try to make a protective and decorative screen yourself. True, get ready for the fact that it will not be easy to do it. The first stage is the choice of suitable material, and it is desirable that the fastening elements were the same. If the materials did not work out, at least the color should match. Do not do without special tools: screwdriver, metal scissors, blade, fastening elements, a set of keys. If everything is ready, when mounting on the inside of the grille, you can proceed to dismantle the bumper, fog lights, and conventional headlights. The next step is to attach the grid to the bumper using a suitable method. See above. Install the bumper in its original place. Make sure that all brackets are clicked and secured with clips. If it is possible and desirable to make a screen with a decent decorative appearance and mount it on top of the grille, you will need to have a jigsaw or soldering iron. The work itself is carried out in the following order. The standard radiator grille is removed. Note that this possibility is not always present. The screen is cut out along the contour of the grille, then a jigsaw is used to cut out decorative holes with the help of emery cloth, we process all burrs and irregularities in the places of cutting. We heat up the contour of the radiator grille. With a soldering iron, we press our grid at the place of melting, install the design in its original place, if necessary, paint the grid. As you can see, nothing super complicated, only straight hands, and the desire to save money. In conclusion, the optional radiator grille mesh serves multiple important functions that enhance both the performance and aesthetics of a vehicle. It plays a crucial role in optimizing airflow to the engine, improving cooling efficiency, and protecting vital components from debris. Additionally, the mesh can contribute to the overall design and style of the car, allowing for personalization and a unique look. By understanding these functions, drivers can appreciate the thoughtful engineering that goes into every detail of their vehicle. Thank you for watching, and we hope this insight into the optional radiator grille mesh has been informative.